particularly during holidays when you're put in situations where it's tough to make healthful food choices over and over. You might get to a point you just say, well, I blew it yesterday and I blew it today. I might as well just forget about it for a while. The sooner you can get that mentality changed around to where you're not focusing on what you might have done earlier in the day or what you did the day before, but to just go immediately back to those sound, healthful choice behaviors that you know and get back into practicing those and don't stress about and think about, well, I blew it yesterday and I've already blown it today. Try to really limit that negative self-talk and get right back to what you know are the healthy behaviors.
With Christmas displays already set up in major retail outlets, the holiday season and all of the food that goes along with it can't be too far off. A family and consumer sciences specialist with K-State Research and Extension says Halloween actually marks the beginning of what some refer to as a food and party marathon that doesn't end until after the Super Bowl. However, it is possible to make it through the holiday and football food frenzy without packing on additional pounds. On today's Sound Living, developing a plan for the numerous food events we'll face in the coming months. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman. Eating in moderation and being physically active are two of the best ways to avoid holiday weight gain. K-State Research and Extension Family and Consumer Sciences Specialist for Northeast Kansas, Sharolyn Jackson, says that identifying the things you typically struggle with during that period can also be beneficial.
That's right. Think about what it is that you particularly struggle with. What are some things that you find it difficult to manage? What situations, types of foods, events, and things that throw you off track? And plan ahead for those and have a strategy to meet them.
We always think about having to make decisions for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, but really we're making food decisions throughout the day.
Constantly. We're constantly making food decisions, and we don't always have control over that because sometimes people that we work with bring foods in that tempt us that we weren't prepared for. We have events and dinners and parties, and we don't really know what type of food will be served, so it's kind of hard to plan ahead. But to learn to make good choices with what's available to you.
The things that we can control, for instance, like breakfast, we can make some healthy decisions at that point.
That's right. And one of the first things I'll always mention as we come up to a busy holiday season is never skip breakfast. You're kind of in trouble then. You're setting yourself up for some challenges the rest of the day because you might find yourself just really starving mid-morning, and then you're not in a place where you can make a good decision. So plan ahead for the holidays. Have some foods on hand. Have something in the freezer that you can pull out quickly, like a pumpkin muffin made with some whole grains, or have even some healthful breakfast bars that are there that are quick grab and go. And also set yourself up to have non-calorie beverages or low-calorie beverages. One of the things that we really overlook, we don't talk about nearly enough, is the need to stay hydrated throughout the year. Not just the summertime we talk about it, but that can be a real challenge even in the busy holiday time too. Make sure that you're drinking plenty of water and staying well hydrated.
And that really makes you feel more full as well. You might not necessarily be hungry. You might actually be thirsty.
That's a good strategy, is to just have a glass of water before you even start to eat. And that way you feel a little bit full already. And just, again, meeting that need for fluids that we have that we often overlook.
You kind of talked about it. In the summertime, we think about the need for water because we're being more physically active, but we need to be physically active year-round and maybe even more so during this holiday stretch.
That's right. It's something, again, you plan ahead, put it in your schedule, it's much more apt to happen. It doesn't have to be the same type of physical activity routine that you might have the rest of the year. Maybe it's a shorter time span, but make sure that you're not getting completely out of the habit, that you at least get in maybe 10 minutes or 15 minutes at a time. It doesn't have to be 30 minutes straight or an hour or anything like that, but just small bouts of activity throughout the day will go a long way to help you keeping that habit going.
We do the Walk Kansas following the first of the year, but really that's something that is probably one of the easiest, most cost-effective ways to get exercise.
It really is. And working some strategies for walking into your routine. Let's just take, for example, you're going to do some holiday shopping. Well, before you look at stores in the mall, do 5 quick laps around the mall. You can do a little bit of window shopping as you're going, but get in a little bit of activity or take a break in shopping and walk a couple of laps just as fast as you can, and again, navigating the crowds and such. But just strategies like that. Parking, a lot of times when you're holiday shopping, you're not going to be able to park close to the door, which is a good thing. So walk across the parking lot. Plan some of those little extras in there to get a few more steps.
Really what you're talking about here is some sustained activity. A lot of times we think, oh, I'm always on the go. But that, walk to the car is nice, but you really need that 10 to 15 minutes.
You really do. To get cardiovascular benefit from any kind of activity, you need to do it for at least 10 minutes. Most of us can make room in our schedule for 10 minutes, maybe once or twice a day.
Really are a lot of benefits to physical activity. Reduces stress, gets your blood pumping. A lot of people sleep better at night.
Lots and lots and lots of benefits. And think about all those things you just mentioned, how valuable those are during a stressful holiday season, that physical activity can keep you better able to manage those. And one that's really oftentimes overlooked is your outlook on life, your mood. You're in a much better mood when you're physically active. That's something that is really a key and can go a long way to helping you get through a stressful holiday period.
There are a lot of food traps during the holidays. What are some ways to cope with some of the things that we'll be running into over the next couple of months?
First of all, make sure, again, like I said, you eat breakfast and don't skip meals, even if they're small meals. And if you know that you're going to have a big holiday party to go to in the evening, then plan accordingly the rest of the day. And make sure that in your home or your workplace that you have healthy, quick and easy grab-and-go kinds of foods and snacks available. If it's not there, people can't even make the choice. Have some fruits and vegetables already packaged and washed and prepared and what have you. And also having refillable water bottles ready to go at home is a good plan. And plan ahead, too, and stock your freezer with some meals that can be just pulled out and heated up for your family so that you're not depending on a fast food run or some convenience food that you just pick up. But for holiday parties and dinners, we all struggle with those. And so a plan you can make for yourself is starting with the fresh veggies or things that are lower in calories. And go for the non-calorie beverage first off. And have some water, have iced tea, even a diet soda or something that is non-caloric to begin with. And then really pay attention to the calories that you might consume in other beverages. They add up quickly. And you think about things at the holidays, there's alcoholic beverages, there's eggnog, hot chocolate, what have you, and those can add up really, really quickly. So, again, plan ahead for those. Use a smaller plate whenever you can. That's a strategy that works for a lot of people. Rather than having a really large dinner or platter-sized plate, go with a small plate. And when you can, if you have a buffet, take a look at what's available before you start filling your plate. I think we've all been there when we started filling our plate and realized, there's some really good foods there I would have rather had I known they were on the buffet. So take a scan of that ahead of time. Or just go really light your first time through, and then you can plan for seconds if you haven't overdone it on the first time through. And when you're eating, try to eat slowly. Oftentimes we're just so geared up and we're wanting to eat really fast and get it down. So try to savor each bite. And before you go back for seconds, try to let 10 minutes pass so that your stomach has a chance to signal your brain that you're full, if indeed you are. So that's just a good plan. One of the other things that is helpful is to know that we look forward to desserts or dessert-type foods at the holidays. And rather than trying to stay away from them, think about smaller portions. And we can help each other by cutting dessert portions in half, like cutting a slice of pie in half, and just learning to accept smaller portions.
We often hear people talk about, I ate so much, I'm stuffed, I can hardly move. You have a term that kind of goes along with that. What they've done is they've kind of hit that enjoyment curve, and they've gone way overboard.
That's right. And an enjoyment curve is really not anything that's research-based or tested in that way, but it just makes really good sense to me and to others. The point where we just keep eating and eating because it tastes so good and we're enjoying it. And then there's a point when we've just gone too far and we've pushed that enjoyment curve to where it's not enjoyable anymore. In fact, you might be miserable. And so to think about that, think about eating your meals based on the enjoyment curve and stopping when it's no longer that enjoyable, it just makes good sense. It might be a strategy that can help people to not overdo it.
It seems like as Americans, we always think bigger is better. And maybe if you're the host, you might take kind of a cue from caterers. Typically, when they do things, they do them in small portions so that people can take a bigger sample, bigger variety.
Definitely. And a lot of times you just want a bite of something. And so the smaller portions can help because you get to taste some new things, but not necessarily overdo on any one of them. One of the things that we often don't talk about is our discretionary calorie amount that is part of My Plate recommendations, but it's a little bit difficult to comprehend at times. But discretionary calories are the foods that don't fit into the food categories. They're things that have a really high sugar content, high fat content. A lot of our beverages and many desserts would fit into that category. And if you look at the average person that eats 2,000 calories a day, that discretionary calorie budget is around 260 calories. So if you think about that, what can you fit in that's 260 calories or around that? If you think, well, a glass of red wine is about 125 calories. If you have a slice of pecan pie, for example, that can be around 500. So you're going to have to cut that piece of pie in half if you want to try and stay within the discretionary calorie limit anyway. So begin to think about that's kind of the ballpark of what you can allow yourself in terms of a discretionary calorie food is around 250, 300 calories, and that is kind of tough to do during the holidays.
We're really trying to avoid what we refer to as those empty calories.
That's right. Empty calories is exactly what we're talking about. And so it's not that you shouldn't have them. Those are built into what you can have during the day. It's just we overdo that part. And one of the other things that I like to point out, too, is that particularly during holidays, when you're put in situations where it's tough to make healthful food choices over and over, you might get to a point you just say, well, I blew it yesterday and I blew it today. I might as well just forget about it for a while. The sooner you can get that mentality changed around to where you're not focusing on what you might have done earlier in the day or what you did the day before, but to just go immediately back to those sound, healthful choice behaviors that you know and get back into practicing those and don't stress about and think about, well, I blew it yesterday and I've already blown it today. Try to really limit that negative self-talk and get right back to what you know are the healthy behaviors.
And when we talk about weight management over a long period, what we're trying to do is really make some lifestyle changes in how we eat, changes in how active we are, changes in, like you said, our moods. Maybe there's a lot that goes into this because there will be some people who will eat more during the holidays simply because they are stressed or they're emotional. A lot of things play into why we eat.
Exactly. And for most people, the average American gains 1 to 2 pounds, but a lot of people gain anywhere from 5 to 8 pounds over the holidays. That in itself is not what's so concerning, but they're not losing that weight after the holidays. It just accumulates year after year after year. And so over time, that has a real negative effect. And the other thing that is important in terms of physical activity is that, let's say that for most of the year, you're a regular walker or you're getting some regular aerobic activity, but you just completely stop between Thanksgiving and New Year's. And the studies that I've seen have been done just with women, but women can lose up to 20% of their cardiovascular fitness just during that time frame by completely stopping. And so if you can at least do something, maybe it's not as much as you were doing, but just do something during that time frame. And that, too, also makes it much easier to get back into your normal routine after the holidays have passed.
A lot of things to think about over the next couple of months. If you could maybe give just 1 or 2 pieces of advice, what would that be?
I would say plan to stay active. Find some time for physical activity, even if it's not as much as you usually do. Think ahead and plan what you're going to eat. Make some good choices and enjoy some favorite holiday foods as well. And plan to stick to your regular routine. Go to bed at the same time, wake up at the same time so that your sleep pattern's not completely disturbed. And those 3 right there will go a long way to help you navigate the holiday season in good health.
That's K-State Research and Extension Family and Consumer Sciences Specialist for Northeast Kansas, Sharolyn Jackson. For more information on healthy eating and physical activity, contact your county or district extension office or visit the extension website www.ksre.ksu.edu, ksre.ksu.edu. Sound Living is a weekly public affairs program produced by Research and Extension at Kansas State University. I'm Jeff Wichman, and this is the K-State Radio Network.